I just love migration season. Hello and welcome to Hawk Mountain's Home Discovery Series. Today's program is Migration Madness with Ridgetop Rachel, Hawk Mountain's Senior Educator.
Hi, folks.
My name is Jamie Dawson. I'm the Director of Education at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, and we are so glad that you're joining us today. Hawk Mountain is the world's very first refuge for birds of prey, and we continue to work hard to be leaders in raptor conservation, science, and education locally and globally around the world. Hawk Mountain is a private nonprofit, and membership is the lifeblood of our organization. To all of our members out there, thank you so much for your continued support. And if you're joining us today and you're not a member, we hope that you consider becoming one in the future. Hawk Mountain hopes that everyone remains safe and healthy during these times of COVID crisis, and we are thrilled to offer our community a variety of free virtual programming. As always, Hawk Mountain greatly appreciates any donations. Just so everyone is aware, today's program is being recorded. The video will then be accessible on Hawk Mountain's YouTube channel as a continued resource. We also have a link on our website directly connecting you to our YouTube channel. At any time during today's program, viewers may submit questions through the Q&A feature on the Zoom platform. We've designated time at the end of the program to take some questions from the audience. And we are so excited that Ridgetop Rachel is joining us today during spring migration. Rachel has been working at Hawk Mountain for over 12 years, providing excellent care and training to our avian educators, as well as coordinating our core school and group education programs. Rachel is an essential worker at Hawk Mountain and provides life-sustaining care to our resident raptors, even during our time of closure due to the coronavirus. So thank you, Rachel, for all that you do. And we are all very excited to celebrate Migration Madness with you and to learn about this fascinating phenomenon of migration. Wait, Rachel, wait, I see a bird. It's approaching really low over the ridge. It's really big. It looks like maybe a big buteo. It has big, broad wings and a fanned out tail. It's coming closer. It's coming really, really close. It's so close. Oh my goodness. Whoa. Wow. Did you check out that red-tailed hawk? That was amazing. Rachel, I'm going to turn it over to you. I can't wait to learn more about migration.
Woohoo! Thank you, everyone. Welcome, friends, and thank you again for being here for Migration Madness, where we will explore the basics of raptor migration here at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary. Well, let's review that term raptor. Raptors, they are predatory birds. So if we're talking about raptor migration, we need to know what raptors are. They're predatory birds that have adaptations like talons, sharp claws or talons to catch their food, which happens to be small to medium-sized animals. Now that word migration sounds a lot like hibernation, but that word migration simply means to move. So hibernation and migration, yes, they are strategies that animals use to manage seasonal changes. So for example, I'm coming to you from beautiful Pennsylvania. A black bear may sleep or hibernate during the wintertime, where a raptor, remember, a predatory bird, will migrate or move out of the area. Now, why are they migrating? Well, if you remember what raptors eat, small to medium-sized animals, during seasonal changes, when temperatures drop, so do resources like food. So raptors move or migrate to other areas where those resources are high. That means there's an abundance of food. Now, here's just one example. If you are the angler of the raptor world, that happens to be an osprey, a specialist eating fish, and you breed in Canada, I have news for you. Think about what happens in wintertime. When temperatures drop, what happens to water? It freezes. And here's a secret. Raptors cannot use microwaves, so they're going to migrate or move to areas where it's warmer and the water doesn't freeze, and they can fish in their wintering grounds. Well, folks, this is an exciting time of the year all across the globe because migrants are moving. Are raptors the only animals that migrate? No. If I told you that, my nose would start growing. Well, guess what? There are migratory butterflies like the monarch that migrate all the way to Mexico. Hola, ¿cómo estás? And many species of dragonflies that migrate, and lots of songbirds. Guess what? They all fly over Hawk Mountain because of where we're located. So while we're counting migratory raptors, sanctuary biologists and hawk counters are also collecting data or information on non-raptor migrants as well. Gee, well, what's so special about Hawk Mountain? We don't have enough time in our lifetimes to answer that question thoughtfully, but I will tell you that Hawk Mountain Sanctuary is located on planet Earth, just like where you are, and we're located, if you'll humor me while I go to our beautiful map of the continent where I'm coming to you from, of North America. So think about it. If you're in the United States, where I am, the country north of us is, getting hungry for maple syrup, it's Canada, and then south of the United States is Mexico. Where's that monarch butterfly? Well, there's something special about these land masses. Oh, I forgot to tell you that migrating raptors follow land masses like mountains and coastlines. And if we look at this beautiful map, and if we look at the eastern part of the United States, there are these ancient mountains. They're called the Appalachian Mountains. In fact, these mountains begin in Canada, run through New England and the mid-Atlantic state, down south to Alabama, where they're actually called the Appalachian Mountains. Well, what's the big deal about these mountains? Just like these young whippersnappers, the Rocky Mountains, yes, they're high, the Great Lakes in the middle of our country, raptors follow mountains and coastlines to save energy. They also use two strategies, and two of these strategies are updrafts and thermals. Well, what are thermals? Our beautiful sun is shining and it's warming our planet. When the land warms, air is going in what direction? It's going up. So you can see there are pockets of warm air that are rising that actually allow migrating raptors an energy saving push up. So raptors like broadwing hawks can take advantage of these thermals to gain altitude. They go all the way up, 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 until they're at the very top, then they find the next thermal. Well, updrafts definitely help raptors migrate and save energy. That's what it's all about, saving energy during migration. Here at Hawk Mountain, guess what? Yes, we're located along the Appalachian Mountains, but we're in a special part called the Kittatinny Ridge. Now, the Kittatinny Ridge, that's a word that you won't find in the English Webster's Dictionary, because Kittatinny, now the Kittatinny Ridge is just part of those Appalachian Mountains on the East Coast. But Kittatinny means endless mountains. And that word is from the indigenous or original people, the Lenni Lenape. Now, in Lenape language, Kittatinny means endless, but we know that that Kittatinny Ridge is a long, prominent 300-mile stretch. It begins just 60 miles north of New York City, the Big Apple, and stretches through New Jersey and Pennsylvania, just near the Maryland state border in Chambersburg. Again, why is that so important? Well, if you are a migratory raptor, remember, you want to migrate at a low cost. Ask yourself, if we were going on a bicycle ride, would you prefer to go up, 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 and pedal tirelessly, or coast downhill? That's what updrafts, these deflected winds off of mountains, do for raptors. It's like flying on cruise control, an energy-saving technique. So, yes, Hawk Mountain Sanctuary absolutely is a great place to witness the migration, both in spring and fall. Is there a difference between spring and fall migration at Hawk Mountain? Absolutely. In fact, in general, if we look at the data, if we're looking at numbers, in spring, we count just under 1,000 birds on average versus almost 20,000 birds in autumn. That's a huge, huge, huge difference. Well, I'm sure you have lots and lots of questions about migration, but I'm not quite finished yet. You know, here at Hawk Mountain, biologists count raptors to learn more about them. Raptors are important bioindicators of the health of our shared environment. Certainly at Hawk Mountain and other count sites, we use tools like binoculars or optics. We certainly can use spotting scopes to see birds in details, but biologists all over the world are using additional tools to learn more about the seasonal movement or migration. Well, one tool might be a wing tag. Another tool would be satellite telemetry. This serves almost like a GPS unit, allowing biologists to track the movement. In fact, this morning I heard a broad-winged hawk, our most commonly seen migrating raptor here at Hawk Mountain, and it reminded me to tell you about the broad-winged hawk project that sanctuary biologists are working on. Scientists ask questions like, where are these birds going? How fast are they going? Are they going to the same place? And those tools help them to answer questions. Gee, Who is that gentleman behind me? Well, he happens to be the father or godfather of raptor migration. Certainly at Hawk Mountain, everyone knows Maurice Thrun. So Maurice Thrun started the migration count in September of 1934. Although he was a bird lover and a hawk watcher, he certainly didn't start the count for fun. He had a question: am I making a difference? You know, during migration, there are lots of threats. There are dangers. It might sound like fun, like going on a vacation, but it's not. In fact, we know migration means moving, and quite frankly, it's move it or lose it. So some dangers and threats that raptors continue to this day all over the globe are habitat loss, habitat change, and that is due to human development. Certainly pesticide, so the overuse and misuse of chemicals has a direct impact on raptors and raptor migration. Certainly collisions, not only with buildings and windows, wind turbines, and cars. Another threat is sadly direct persecution. So if we're going back to Maurice Thrun, he came to Hawk Mountain Sanctuary to protect it. Folks, this isn't a history lesson, but I'd be silly not to reiterate that Hawk Mountain Sanctuary is the birthplace of raptor conservation. This gentleman was asked to come to Hawk Mountain from Massachusetts from our founder, Mrs. Rosalie Edge. Along with his wife, Maurice Thrun came to protect. He was the first warden. It was his job to post up signs saying hawks are protected. This is a sanctuary. That means a safe place. Well, folks, you can imagine he was not welcomed by those hawk shooters. And after being bullied and told to leave, Maurice Thrun asked himself, gee, am I making a difference? Certainly I'm protecting raptors right here in Pennsylvania, but am I making a difference because they could be shot by direct persecution to the north, to the south, to the east or west? He decided to answer his question by starting the migration count, the very first migration count recorded. And I'm proud to say, Hawk Mountain, we still count. In fact, 85 years and counting, we are still answering that question of, are we making a difference? Maurice Thrun was able to confidently say yes, because he saw populations increase. But it doesn't end there. Again, back to that question of why do you still count? Well, we're looking for population trends, and a decline in populations definitely is a red flag. That means something serious. There's a problem in our environment. Very briefly, I'll tell you about one of the most historic examples of why it's important to collect information and how excited and proud I am to work at the place that has the longest set of migration data. Well, folks, think about our national symbol. That's right, the bald eagle. Do you know that the fearless female conservationist Rachel Carson from right here in the Keystone State, she visited Maurice Thrun and she used his migration data to connect the misuse of harmful chemicals like DDT to the decline in juvenile bald eagle populations. That's just one example. Research continues all over the globe using migration data. Well, just some of this migration data tells us that not all migrations are created equal. Gee, we know about terms like long distance or short distance migrants. That means that some raptors are staying, well, short distance, take a guess. They're just migrating a short distance versus long distance migrants. That means a bird that might be leaving breeding grounds in Canada and flying to wintering grounds in South or Central America. That means they're leaving and flying long distances. No, Hawk Mountain Sanctuary biologists are not following them in airplanes. Remember, we have tools like satellite telemetry that helps us answer those questions, like where are they going? We also know not all raptors migrate. There are partial and complete migrants. A red-tailed hawk is a great example of a partial migrant. If you see red-tailed hawks in your neighborhood in summertime, you may see them in the wintertime. Why? It's all about food and those food resources. Complete migrants actually mean that 90% or more of a population is completely leaving. Examples of this could be the peregrine falcon, the fastest raptor in the world. In fact, the fastest animal in the world. I know some of you are probably thinking, Rachel, don't you know about the cheetah? I do know about the cheetah, the big cat. But believe it or not, cheetahs are the fastest land animal running, but peregrine falcons, take it from me because I work with world-leading ornithologists, biologists that are studying birds, and they've even used tools like satellite telemetry to track the time and speed of peregrine falcons when they're diving or stooping on a delicious pigeon. Ospreys and broad-winged hawks are some other examples of long-distance migrants. You know, I mentioned that bird, broad-winged hawk again. Well, broad-winged hawks are our most commonly seen migrant. In fact, if we look at the 16, yes, the sweet 16 species of raptors that regularly migrate over the Kittatinny Ridge, we group them, and there are the big three. So looking at over 85 years of data, we know that the gold medalist, the most commonly seen raptor at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary is the broad-winged hawk. And we see its peak in mid to late September. Yes, each species has their own destination and their own timetable. The silver medalist at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary goes to the sharp-shinned hawk, and we see the peak sharp-shinned hawk migration in October. And finally, the bronze goes to the red-tailed hawk, and we see the peak in October. A lot of people ask, where's the best place to see migration at Hawk Mountain? It's North Lookout, absolutely North Lookout. And when is the best time? Well, guess what? In general, in fall would be October. That's the time that we see the most variety of those 16 species. Gee, would you like some tips on hawk ID? Again, this is just the basics. It's like an appetizer. You might be wondering, well, how in the world do you identify a little speck in the sky? Well, let me tell you, anyone can be a hawk watcher. And again, thanks to Maurice Thrun, the godfather of raptor migration data accounts, I can confidently tell you that number one, you want to see, you want to actually look, use your powers of observation. So if we're inside and we're just eating candy bars on the couch, watching TV, snoozing away, you won't see anything. So folks, at least look out your window or get outside and notice. Use your powers of observation. Remember, right in here, this is your best tool. Then your eyes, I have to use eyeglasses. I need all the help I can get. However, binoculars will help you. But first, scan. If you live near a coastline or a mountain, that's the best place to see migration. And we're gonna look and find the bird, and then we're gonna notice the general shape or silhouette. Again, just general. Out of those 16 species, we put them into groups. Groups like, and by the way, you don't have to memorize any of this. However, falcons, vultures, the osprey, eagles, hawks, and harrier, those are some groups, and it even gets more exciting than that. In fact, there are 2 groups of hawks. One group happens to be, in fact, I'm gonna flip it around, because don't get excited about, oh, what color is it? What pattern is it? First, keep it simple, people. Look at the general silhouette or shape. This is the silhouette of, and those hawk watchers out there might recognize this bird. This is a buteo or buteo. These are hawks that have wide, broad tails and wide, broad wings. Examples of buteos would be a red-tailed hawk, a broad-winged hawk, red-shouldered hawk, and rough-legged hawks, buteos. The next group of hawks would be the accipiters. Now, accipiters have long, thin tails compared to their trunk or body, and they have relatively short, rounded wings. And finally, I'll show you the falcons. These are birds that have very, very pointy wings. So again, you want to see the bird, you want to notice the general shape, then your patience will be rewarded if you continue observing the flight behavior. So those buteos, like broad wings and red tails, with the wide tails, I identify with those. They're built for soaring and gliding, soaring and gliding. They take advantage of those pockets of warm air in thermals. Accipiters, those Cooper's hawk, sharp-shinned hawk, and yes, who's this beauty over here? It's not a beauty-o, it's an accipiter, the northern goshawk. How do I know? Wow, look at that long tail. Well, accipiters, with their long tails and short rounded wings, are adapted for flapping and gliding. So generally speaking, they may look like flap, 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 glide, flap, 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 glide, flap, 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 glide. Oh, it doesn't end there. And I'm glad I ate my Wheaties, because if I'm a falcon, I am built for speed. That means if I'm an American kestrel, a merlin, or a peregrine falcon, I'm going to use my pointy, sickle-shaped wings for fast flight. That's right, people. Fast flight. Now, I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't mention the turkey vulture. Yeah, that's right. Vultures are the original recyclers. They are nature's garbage collectors, and we need them. So Turkey vultures, for example, I think are one of the most graceful looking flyers, and I think they're easy to identify. They hold their wings in a V shape for vulture, easy to remember, and they teeter-totter. In fact, you might even start your day by stretching, and you can think about a turkey vulture and thank a vulture by doing some stretching, but really your wings are up in a dihedral, that means V shape, and they're teeter-tottering. You know, one raptor biologist in India, we always make a joke, we say turkey vultures are rock stars, which they are, but they're rock stars because they rock back and forth. Gee, I'm sure you may have some questions. You know, I could go on and on and on about migration because it's so exciting and it's something that I look forward to seasonally every single spring and fall. And it's not just happening here at the birthplace of raptor migration and conservation, Hawk Mountain. It's happening all over the globe. So, I would like to invite you to continue celebrating migration magic and madness by joining me and everyone across the globe this Saturday, which happens to be May 9th, in celebrating World Global Migration Day. I'll be celebrating by doing a Raptor-thon. You might be wondering, what's a Raptor-thon? Are you going to be running? Are you going to be migrating? No, I'm actually going to be raising money and hawk watching for one of our partners called Humana. That's the Hawk Migration Association of North America. That's where we are, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. These are folks that connect Hawkwatch sites. Hawk Mountain Sanctuary might be the first, and we've got a rich history, but in no way do we count the most migrating raptors. In fact, we have a sister site in Veracruz that's called the River of Raptors because they count nearly get ready for this, 5 million raptors each season. If you live towards Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, consider visiting Militia Hill. If you live in the Jersey Shore and you're fist pumping, guess what? Visit Cape May. Oh, you're on the West Coast? Do you know that people are counting migratory raptors on the Golden Gate Bridge? Oh, what's so great about the Great Lakes? Well, right now, during spring migration, folks are counting hawks at many watch sites, including Braddock Bay. So I'm sure that there is a hawk watch count near you. In fact, that could be your homework assignment. So Hawk Mountain Sanctuary hawk counters, we don't just collect the information and mantle over it, we share it. And organizations like Humana help connect those hawk watch sites. We share information so we can learn more about migration. Folks, I look forward to seeing you on the mountain, and I encourage you all to keep your eyes on the skies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich Top Rachel. That was awesome, and I really appreciate your enthusiasm for raptors and migration. So thank you so much. So thank you. So now I would like to share my screen. I would like to share with our viewers some scientific research, hot off the press, straight from our science team, some updated numbers as of last night of our spring migration count 2020 at Hawk Mountain. And although we are closed due to the coronavirus, we do have permission from the government for our scientists to continue our spring migration count as it's part of a long-term research project. And of course, our scientists are doing this work solo, independently, and practicing social distancing as always. So give me a second. I'm going to share this data. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. So again, this was shared from our science team just last night. So this is the data from spring migration as of yesterday, May 5th, and we still have 10 more days of the spring migration count. It goes till the 15th. So you can see we have the 16 species of diurnal or daytime raptors that migrate past Hawk Mountain. And then here you can see the total count that we've seen this season, this spring migration, April 1st through May 5th, of these different species. And so far we've seen a total of 1,243 raptors passing by Hawk Mountain for spring migration. And you can compare that with the 10-year average during the entire the count time frame, April 1st to the 15th. You can see that we're this year already slightly above the 10-year average, which is great. And Rachel was talking a lot about broadwings, and you can see the broadwing hawks here is the most numerous raptor we see passing during migration, 737, followed by the turkey vulture at 138. You can see these numbers are much higher than the 10-year average, so that's good. Then you also have the red-tailed hawk at 78, which is another really high number. So you can see the osprey at 57. So just wanted to share this data. Our scientists continue to work hard to count every raptor that passes during spring migration. Okay, so now we have a lot of questions from the audience, Rachel. So I am going to start going through those questions. Rachel, do raptors migrate in a flock, like a formation like geese, or do they migrate individually?
That's a great question. And although I am not a real raptor, and I would love to be one, raptors are mainly solitary animals with the exception of breeding season. However, there are species like the broadwing hawk that take advantage of thermals, and we often see broadwing hawks in groups taking advantage of those pockets of warm air. So I would say, yes, indeed, broadwing hawks certainly gather in what we call kettles here at Hawk Mountain and other Hawk Watch sites. So you definitely, where you see one broadwing in one thermal, you may see other migratory raptors. That's a great question.
Thanks, Rachel. Okay, next question. Does extreme weather, such as thunderstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes, affect raptor migration?
In fact, that is such a great question. Yes, it certainly does. When's the best time to see fall migration? It's after a cold front on days where we have northwest winds. What does that mean? It means that the wind is coming from the northwest, giving these birds an energy saving push. However, birds certainly will use the Appalachian forest as a stopover, or like a rest stop in bad weather, like torrential downpour, like we're talking monsoons, very heavy rain, because migrating in heavy rain is not cost efficient. That's a great question. Since I'm talking about the Appalachian forest, while those birds are stopping over in the Appalachian forest, they're also using the habitat to refuel or hunt on their stopovers. So green spaces, places like Hawk Mountain Sanctuary that are preserved and conserved are very, very essential to migrating raptors.
Thanks, Rachel. So I know we're talking a lot about the diurnal or daytime raptors, and I think there's a lot of nocturnal raptor fans out there, the owls. Do owls migrate?
You better believe it. And you actually don't have to take it from me. We work with biologists that study nocturnal migrants. Well, it's not so simple. In fact, there are lots of songbirds that migrate, and they migrate at night. I wonder why. What would the benefit be of migrating at night if you're a songbird? It's to avoid predatory raptors, like diurnal raptors, like hawks and eagles and vultures. However, we work with several projects. I'm holding up a Hawk Mountain News. One of the benefits of membership is access to the latest and greatest information. This happens to be a saw-whet owl, and saw-whet owl migration is being studied by biologists. First of all, we work with Project OwlNet. How in the world would you study owls, nocturnal owls, because there are some diurnal owls, like the snowy owl, for example, or short-eared owl? Well, how do you go about learning about the migration of a saw-whet owl? First of all, they're tiny. They're even smaller than an eastern screech owl. Most people think they're baby owls, but they aren't. Well, you're going to use different tools. Instead of being perched at North Lookout with binoculars, scientists use tools like banding stations. They catch a bird, so they put up a net. In a simple term, it might look like a volleyball net. Scientists would play the call to attract saw-whet owls along their predicted migration path. Biologists are standing by to process those saw-whet owls very quickly without reducing stress. So very quickly they're processing the bird, they're taking data like wingspan, weight, the gender, age. All of that information is going to answer questions, and then they would attach a band or a ring to the leg of that bird, and that band or leg has very unique information, almost like a social security number for that specific bird. So if that bird is recaptured next year or recaptured at a different location, it helps ornithologists and raptor biologists to answer those questions. So please learn about Project OwlNet, Project Snowstorm. There's always something new to learn about raptor migration.
Thanks so much, Rachel. We have another great question. We have so many great questions. So when we have our scientists out at North Lookout and they're conducting the migration count, how do they determine which birds are migrating and which birds are resident birds and not migrating?
Oh my God, that is an incredible question. Oh gee, how much time do you have? Well, first of all, what is our goal? Hawk Mountain biologists count birds because we are conducting a population survey or a population index. Our goal is not to take a census. We're not trying to count every single bird, but we're certainly using consistent data collection methodology. That means we're always at the same place and everyone's collecting the data the same way. So the question is, how do you know if a bird is migrating or not? Well, that's a great question. If you're a migrating bird at this time of the year, it's spring, what direction would you be heading? You'd be heading north to breeding grounds from your wintering grounds. Also, you would be flying with determination and focus. Also, Hawk Mountain Sanctuary hawk counters use boundaries, almost like if we were playing tag or baseball or basketball. From North Lookout, we are using landmarks, and a bird has to go in those, in between those landmarks. I hope that makes sense.
That was very helpful, Rachel. Thank you. And I think it's so important how you emphasize it's all about being consistent. For the scientific method, it's consistent, done the same way every year, and that's how you get good results. Okay, so next question. Why do some individuals of the same species migrate and some do not migrate? Like you gave an example of the red-tailed hawk being a partial migrant.
That's a fantastic question, and biologists continue to answer that question because it changes. Remember, we're still collecting information, and populations of migratory birds could change. It's all about food availability. So let's look at the red-tailed hawk, the most commonly seen raptor in all of North America, because just like me, they're not picky eaters. Those are birds that will catch whatever is easiest to catch and most abundant. It could be insects at one time of the year versus songbirds, and roadkill or carrion. So why don't they all stick around? Well, that's like if I said, guess what, Jamie? I'm going to provide a pizza party to everyone who watched Migration Madness today. And I showed up with 2 pizzas. You would probably think, wait a minute, my stomach's growling. 2 pizzas is not going to be enough food for all of us. But wait a minute, what if I slice it in half, and then in quarters, and in eighths, and 16ths, and we all get an equal piece? No way. You'd be getting your pitchforks out and your real forks out, because there just isn't enough food. It's the carrying capacity of a habitat. There just isn't enough food for everyone during the winter.
Thanks.
Great question.
Thank you. Great answer. Let's see. What is the longest amount of time you've seen between when you've tagged a bird and it's returned to Hawk Mountain?
Gee, that's a great question that I'm not exactly sure how to answer. That would be a fantastic question for one of our staff biologists. What I can tell you is that some birds stay, remember those long distance versus short distance migrants. I remember learning about a turkey vulture, oh gee, turkey vulture, yes, a turkey vulture that was tagged, so again, with a wing tag in Kempton, Pennsylvania at Hawk Mountain. And it was seen, I believe, that winter in Florida at Disney. So that's a really, really good question. We have to keep our eyes open, especially for wing tags. Now, remember, satellite telemetry is different. That means from my cell phone, I can get a text message and I will find I'll learn the exact latitude and longitude. So the exact location where a bird is, that information alone, if I get 3 text messages with the location per day, then I can answer questions like, how fast is the bird going? What direction is it going? So that's a really good question. I think it depends on the species, and I believe that behavior is the study of one. So I think that depends on the individual bird.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good question.
That was a good question. I know that was a difficult question to answer directly. And I was thinking too of sharing in response to that question. I recall reading that the longest lifespan, the longest known lifespan of a wild red-tailed hawk, I believe was 30 years, which is really excessively long. I think 20 is more like even very long, especially for a wild red-tail. And the reason they knew it was 30 years old was because when they found the bird passed, it actually had a band on its leg, and they were able to look through the records and see that it was banded 30 years ago. So that's just one example. That's one thing I thought of. So, oh my goodness, we're running out of time. I apologize. We don't have time to answer all the wonderful questions. You know, you can always reach out to us via email or on Facebook. And we'll just end with one more question. Can digital photography or video recording devices assist in counting?
Oh, I definitely think so. Yes. In fact, there are many times when I'm hawk watching, I wish I had a camera, because Oh, wait, just stop. If you could just stop flapping for a moment, I could look at the end of your tail and determine, are you a sharp-shinned hawk? Are you a Cooper's hawk? Are you a golden eagle, or are you a juvenile bald eagle? So I would say yes, the more tools, the better. Absolutely. The more ways that we can learn information, the better. Great question.
Thank you so much, Rachel. You did a fantastic job. Thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And stay tuned. We have more virtual programs coming up soon. This Saturday, May 9th at 1:00 p.m., we have Digging for Answers, Uncovering the Mysteries of the Florida Burrowing Owl. And next Wednesday, May 13th at 1:00, we have Citizen Science and You. And actually, we're going to be talking about how you can help to meaningful scientific data collection by reporting your raptor observations, even from your own home, to us at Hawk Mountain. And we are going to have special guests from eBird, from Pennsylvania's eBird review team there to teach you all about that. So you don't want to miss that one. And then Friday, May 15th at 4:00 p.m., we have Raptor ID for beginners. So we have a great lineup. Thanks again, everyone. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Happy spring migration.
Happy migration.
Jamie, I see one.
Whoa. Awesome. Bye for now.
Bye.